Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating philosophy about energy, wisdom, and what it means to have a different kind of power.
Okay, so let's start with a feeling I bet we all know. You know that deep, nagging exhaustion that even a full night's sleep just doesn't fix? You wake up and you're still running on fumes. Well, what if that's because we've been trying to refuel the wrong engine?
You see, the philosophy we're looking at today says we're actually running on two different engines. First, there's your body's energy. That's simple enough. You fuel it with food, you get physical strength. But then there's the soul's energy. It's ghee, or spiritual vigor, and that runs on a totally different fuel, something called nourishment.
So, if our soul doesn't run on calories, what in the world is this nourishment? Well, the answer comes down to a really cool idea from our source material, the concept of soul's mass.
Soul's mass is described as the actual amount and density of your inner spiritual energy. Kind of think of it like spiritual gravity, the substance of your spirit. And when that mass is low, or it isn't very dense, that's when you feel that bone-deep exhaustion and that feeling of powerlessness, no matter how much you sleep or what you eat.
So, what builds this mass? The source is super clear on this. The nourishment that actually fills the soul isn't food at all, it's knowledge. This is the special diet for your spirit. But, and this is a big but, it's not just any old knowledge you can find scrolling on your phone. See, this is where it gets really specific. There are two types. On one hand, you've got low-density knowledge. This comes from human-made logic, social rules, that kind of thing. It's like junk food for the soul, right? It fills you up, but there's no real substance there. But then you have high-density knowledge, which comes from the basic principles of nature itself. Now that is the stuff that builds dense, powerful energy inside your soul.
And this is what leads to this incredible outcome. The idea is, once you filled your soul with enough of this high-density knowledge, you hit a kind of critical mass. And at that point, wisdom isn't something you have to chase anymore. It just emerges. It's a natural result of a soul that has real substance.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, right? But how does a person actually get their hands on this specific high-density knowledge? Well, the path laid out is all about dedication, humility, and service.
It's called Doryong Study. And this is not your typical college course where you pay a ton of tuition. No, this is a method of learning through humble service. You find a place of study, and you contribute by sweeping the floors, cleaning, helping others out. In this way of thinking, your desire to learn is the only payment you need.
And let's be really clear here. This is not a weekend workshop. This path requires a serious long-term commitment. Just building the basic foundation takes 3 years of this dedicated, humble study. If you want to go deeper, that's 7 years. And to reach true mastery, to become what's called a dojin, that's a 10-year journey. It really speaks to the idea that true wisdom just can't be rushed.
So after a decade of filling your soul through this kind of humble service, what's the result? What does a person actually become? Well, this philosophy calls such a person a doing.
And the definition of a doom is probably not what you're thinking. It's not about performing magic tricks or levitating or anything like that. Forget all that. The philosophy is crystal clear on this point. A doom isn't someone with tricks. A doom is simply someone who helps.
Their power, if you want to call it that, is this incredibly deep and practical wisdom. When someone comes to them with a problem, they listen so carefully that they can instantly see the real root of the issue. Then, they give precise, actionable advice that actually solves the problem. And crucially, they only give this help when they're asked, and they never, ever waste their breath on useless, low-quality words.
And this comparison just lays it out so perfectly, doesn't it? A magician or a technician wants to impress you by showing off their skills. A true doin, on the other hand, wants to serve you by helping you solve your real, actual human problems. The goal isn't performance. It's about providing tangible help.
So this brings up a really fascinating question, a kind of paradox, right? If a Dolian spends their whole life just helping others, how do they, live? How do they support themselves?
They're actually taught not to pursue money or material things at all. The thinking goes that anyone with a low soul mass who tries to pile up wealth is just going to lose it anyway. So chasing money is seen as a total distraction from the real work, which is building up that inner value.
So instead of chasing a paycheck, this amazing natural cycle just starts to happen. The doing helps someone with a serious problem, and that person, who is so grateful for the value they've received, naturally provides for the doing's needs in return. Maybe it's a meal, a place to stay, a ride. The focus is always on helping. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more they serve, the more they find themselves supported.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. Real, lasting power isn't found in your bank account. It's found in the density of your soul. In this view, your ability to survive and thrive in the world becomes a direct reflection of your inner worth and your genuine ability to serve other people.
And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. In a world that is so obsessed with what we have and what we own, what if our true worth isn't measured by that at all? What if it's measured by the quality of what we know, and even more importantly, by how we use that knowledge to help the world around us?